What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about why Magomed Ankalaev is going to get absolutely wrecked by Alex Pereira. Ankalaev just beat Alexander Rakic this weekend at UFC 308. A very, very, very boring fight in my opinion. Great kickboxing, great exchanges, not a lot of stuff going on in between there, but genuinely wasn't the most exciting fight. And I do think the fight did put Ankalaev in a light for him to get a title shot next. Magomed Ankalaev is seen as the biggest threat to Alex Pereira because of his wrestling ability, but I kind of want to dive in a little bit more in depth on Ankalaev's wrestling because it isn't prominent at all. He just had this fight with Alexander Rakic, and genuinely, he didn't do any wrestling in this fight, and it was something that was very, very, very surprising in my opinion, considering that Rakic is just... He's a very big striker, and Ankalaev has that wrestling ability, at least we've thought, and he didn't go in and do anything. So truly, it's a very big question. If Magomed Ankalaev doesn't wrestle with Alex Pereira, it's going to be a very long night. So I kind of just want to talk about that and of how this striking match would go between these two individuals. But if you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the biggest thing to do to help the channel grow. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always notified about future UFC content releasing every single day. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video talking about Alex Pereira, Magomed Ankalaev, how this match would go, and what would go out from it. Okay, so just want to talk about this fight with Magomed Ankalaev and Alexander Rakic. Ankalaev looked decent in this fight. It wasn't anything crazy. Rakic had its moments too. I had the fight 29-28, going to Magomed Ankalaev, him winning the second and third round. Now, I could 100% see an argument going 30-27 to Ankalaev. That first round was really close, but I did think the leg kicks ultimately gave Rakic the first round, but doesn't ultimately matter. Ankalaev would have won either way. But I do think that this fight was a very big indicator of how a fight with Alex Pereira would go, because I truly do think that, Magomed Ankalaev, one, he has a lot of issues in his game that I think are going to be exploited when you get a high-level striker like Pereira. First off, he really doesn't check the leg kicks whatsoever, and that's something that's going to be a very massive thing, considering that genuinely he needs to check Pereira's leg kicks, considering of how absolutely strong they are. Furthermore, Ankalaev, he was blocking the head kick pretty well, but I do think that it's going to be a very interesting thing when Alex Pereira starts throwing in that body jab. Rakic really wasn't throwing anything to the body in that fight. It was just kind of a head hunting and leg hunting match, and it was kind of something in the middle that genuinely was causing a lot of just not a very boring fight, because no pockets were being opened, and you kind of got to go to different areas of the body, possibly like the head, or go to the body, go to the legs, do all that different type of stuff before going up to the head to keep your opponent guessing at all times. And in this fight between Magomed Ankalaev and Alexander Rakic, it was kind of just a head-hunting match, like I said. And I do think that Alex Pereira is going to condition Magomed Ankalaev kind of like he did Jiri Prochazka in that second fight, throwing kicks to the legs, throwing kicks to the body, and then finally throwing that head kick to come out. Alex Pereira is just so special in that category. He's got so many different ways to condition places. He's got so many different kicks to kind of go in there and kind of, really make Magomed Ankalaev feel uneasy. But I do think that Alex Pereira he's just one of the best strikers in the world right now. If it's not him, I really don't know who else you would put up. Maybe Ilia Topuria after this past weekend with Max Holloway. But truly, Alex Pereira is that guy, and he's going to go in there and throw off Magomed Ankalaev no matter what. I know he will. He's just that good. And genuinely, if Ankalaev is not going to go in there and wrestle, it is a very hard fight for him. And when Magomed Ankalaev says he's going to go in and knock out Pereira, it's one of those things that he truly means it, because I looked at Magomed Ankalaev's takedown average and accuracy and whatnot. I think he had a takedown average of 0.91 over 15 minutes. He also had a sub average of 0, and 0.0 meaning 0, so like nothing. Alex Pereira has a higher sub average than him with like 3 or something crazy like that. But those stats just show that Magomed Ankalaev doesn't take the fight to the ground. The only way he gets to the ground is if he knocks his opponent down, does stuff like that. And two, when he does get on the ground, he doesn't throw any submissions out. And that is a very, very, very scary thing, especially when you're going to go into a fight with a specialist in Alex Pereira. Everyone is talking about Magomed Ankalaev going to be going in there and grappling with Pereira, taking him down, kind of being this person who's going to do every little thing in a correct manner to exploit the weaknesses of Alex Pereira. Now, ultimately, I just know that Magomed Ankalaev isn't going to go and take Pereira down. He just won't. That's not the type of fighter he is. Rather, he's going to want to go in and stand there and bang. And that's why this fight is pretty easy to predict if that goes there. Magomed Ankalaev is slower than Pereira. he's not as strong as Pereira. He might be very textbook, but Pereira is just incredible in every other aspect. I don't see any way that Alex Pereira loses this fight, and I truly do think that Yuri Prochazka is a better striker than someone like Magomed Ankalaev. Now, Ankalaev might be, he might have more of the fundamentals down. He might be on the same level as Yuri in that category, but in reality, it's just kind of a styles picks fights. Yuri's that wild and whatnot, and that's kind of what gives him an advantage in that category. But, Ankalaev is very textbook, and Pereira is going to be able to dismantle both of them. So truly, I think that Magomed's only way of winning is to take the fight to the ground. The only issue is that he's not a takedown artist. He's not a submission artist. He doesn't have any of these things, and that's kind of the biggest thing that's being presented upon him is he's been put in this white that he's like kind of this Dagestani wrestler, and of how he's a great takedown artist, and of how he does a lot of this stuff with takedowns. In his takedown, he really only fights for control time. He doesn't really go for anything crazy. And genuinely, Magomed Ankalaev, if he doesn't do that to Pereira, it's gonna be game over. Now, Alex Pereira, on the other hand, kind of like I said, he's gonna have to mix up the ground. He's going to have to do a bunch of different things to make this fight go the way he wants, because he is still in a danger zone. Magomed Ankalaev is 21-1 for a reason. He's got 20 wins with 1 loss, 1 draw, and 1 no contest for a reason. That just doesn't happen. He's a great striker. He's kind of done his point. He gets ground and pound. He kind of does stuff like that. But genuinely, Pereira is just that much better. And obviously, he's going to have to train for this camp. He's going to have to study Ankalaev, and you kind of can't go in blind, but you got to realize that this is such an utter mismatch between two individuals, considering that Magomed Ankalaev is a great fighter. Yes, he is. But Alex Pereira might be the greatest kickboxer the UFC has ever seen. Probably the strongest person currently inside the UFC, not pound for pound. That might be going to Ilia Topuria right now. But genuinely, Alex Pereira is a freak of nature, and I just don't see any way that Magomed Ankalaev goes in there and beats him, especially in a kickboxing match. Alex Pereira is going to win that fight 11 times out of 10 every single time. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking that Magomed Ankalaev is going to go in there and run right through Pereira, but genuinely, I'm sitting here and I'm understanding that Ankalaev is just a striker, just like Pereira, and he has nothing on Pereira in that category. Pereira's stronger than him, he's longer than him, he's faster than him, he's got the technique over him, he's got every little thing over Magomed Ankalaev, and genuinely, I just don't see any singular way that Ankalaev is going to go in there and win this fight. I truly think that Pereira is going to become... There's no one in the light heavyweight division that can beat Pereira. He's got a clear path to possibly become one of the greatest light heavyweights there is, while also being to possibly go up to challenge for the heavyweight title in the very near future. Like I said, Ankalaev, great fighter, but as a matchup for Alex Pereira, a very poor matchup, considering that Alex Pereira is the greatest kickboxer possibly the UFC has ever seen, and Magomed Ankalaev is a kickboxer himself. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow, and while you're already down there, please turn on the post notifications, just so you guys are always staying notified about future UFC content releasing every single day. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.